As a person who's been browsing Wattpad for probably around 2 years now, I've seen my fair share of lower quality stories. As a writer myself, I feel like it's past due time to share some of my writing tips for beginner writers, fanfic writers, or just people who need to write an essay or a script. So, here's my top few tips for my fellow writers. Number 1. Spelling and grammar. It's no surprise that writing includes, well, actual words. If people can't understand these words in the context they're put in, there's a good chance your writing isn't going to be that successful. So, tip number 1, the most important one, is to definitely make sure you spell check and correct your grammar along the way. It'll help your writing a lot and make it more enjoyable, especially to grammar Nazis like me. Number 2, make sure you read through your writing. Having a read-through of your own writing after you finish the actual writing is definitely really helpful. You might catch mistakes that you never noticed were there during your initial writing. I'm actually a bit of a hypocrite for saying this, because I'm generally too lazy and too tired to read through my own work again, because I just want to get it over with and publish it, but it really does help. The few times I've actually read through my works, I've noticed so many little mistakes that I would have just published as if I didn't. Also, if it's something you can do easily, get a beta reader. This can be your friend, a family member, or whoever else. They might just be able to catch things you haven't noticed, and offer helpful advice to improve your writing. If you can't have someone close read it over, but you really want a beta reader, I'm always up for reading y'all's works. Just DM me on any of my socials, and I'll be sure to help you read through your work once I'm online, which is usually always. Number 3. Titles, descriptions, and tags. This is more for Wattpad writers, but regular writers can also listen in because it deals with titles. Sure, you think of a good title for your works. A title is the first thing potential readers will see, so make sure it's something that will be sure to captivate your target audience and also give them a simple overview of your story's contents. With descriptions, while browsing Wattpad, I've seen so many authors just put, "It's in the title," or just a single line of dialogue. This just really doesn't work. Your description is supposed to be there to give your readers a brief summary of what they're getting themselves into. While sometimes single lines of dialogue could work, it's typically not very descriptive. And "it's in the title" just makes you seem lazy. And as a side note, most of the time titles don't explain too much either. Titles can't exactly be a mile long, and they definitely won't provide the amount of detail as a description would. Again, descriptions should give potential readers a sense of what they're going to get themselves into. A lack of a proper description could make readers skeptical about reading your work. Tags are a good way to help your story get found. While having little to no tags could work sometimes, again, it doesn't really give readers a sense of what they'd be reading. My point is, having a good title, a proper description, and good tags are really important to help captivate potential readers' interests. Number 4. Fact-checking. Please, please, please make sure you fact-check. I understand it's probably super tedious, but it gets you a long way. If you're writing about a musician and you don't actually play the said instrument, please do your research. As a musician myself, it seriously pisses me off when other people have incorrect portrayal of the said instrument. If you're really desperate, again, my DMs are always open to questions. I play violin and oboe mainly, but I know a lot about other band and string instruments, as well as pianos and keyboards. Yes, there is a difference. If you're going to write a courtroom scene, please make sure you do your research on how courtrooms, trials, and things like that actually work. Yes, I'm still salty about that, Ember. This is especially important for fanfic writers. If you're writing a fanfic on a series, please make sure you get your facts right. Numbers, character name spellings, gender, every single damn number in the series. Anything you can think of, you should fact check it. I might make a separate video for just fanfic writers if it's requested enough. And especially do your research if you're going to write a character with a mental condition you're unfamiliar with. It's actually pretty offensive to butcher mental illnesses, especially to those who have them. Number 5. Planning. Plan out your story before you write it. I have no idea how many times I've started writing, got halfway through, then realized, shit, I don't actually have a plan for this story. Planning out the fully fledged story gets you a really long way, I promise. The one story I've actually had a proper outline for was so much easier to write because I didn't have to just sit there and ponder for half an hour what the fuck my next chapter should be about. This also prevents the needs for fillers to entertain your audience while you think about what the next chapter should be. I'm also seriously a hypocrite for saying this. Pretty much all my stories have no outline and planning. I literally just wing it. Trust me, planning gets you really far. Number 6. Paragraph spacing. This sounds like a really weird one to say, but hear me out. Please, especially if you're a Wattpad writer, give your paragraphs proper spacing. You don't know how hard it is to just read an entire block of pure text. Either I'm going insane or my eyes legit spaz out whenever I have to read a story with blocky paragraphs. Seriously, separate your blocky paragraphs. It's okay to have a longer paragraph here and there, but please don't make your chapters consist entirely of blocky paragraphs. Number 7. Editors. If you can, get an editor or beta reader. I kind of touched on this earlier while talking about proper grammar, but it's entirely possible that others can catch things that you haven't, especially because they don't have the storyline fledged out in their heads, which can help them catch places where the writers didn't give enough explanation as they should. Sometimes you miss these things, either because you're used to the storyline and your brain automatically fills in those gaps, or you're already too worn out to notice because of your hours of work. Again, I'm always up for being y'all's beta reader, and also if y'all want an editor, I'm also available for that. Number 8, lol, be descriptive. I've seen so many people rip on writers for being descriptive, like using words like amber orbs, or terms like that, but honestly, being descriptive by using those terms isn't a bad thing. In fact, it might just be me, but I love when writers use descriptive terms, especially because books don't generally have pictures, so it's really important to be as descriptive as possible when describing your main cast, as to help imaginative readers paint a mental image of your characters. Personally, I don't even want to do this, but my brain just automatically imagines scenes happening as I read them. Being descriptive as a writer isn't a bad thing, it's just that random people like to mock people because of their descriptiveness, either because they think it's overused or they just really hate being descriptive for some reason. Anyway, that's it for this video. I probably forgot so many things I originally had in mind, but oh well. I might do a separate video for just fanfic writers if y'all want, but if y'all don't, I might just go work on something else. Again, feel free to DM me on any of my socials in the description. Stay safe, everyone!